Hello, welcome to today's edition of Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness. I'm your host, Les Winston. Sometimes I get tongue-tied. Yeah, my tongue got in front of my eye teeth. I couldn't see what I was saying. An old joke, bada boom. So, how the world goes around sometimes is pretty amazing. Wanda and I have been doing shows together for a long time, and we've working on this project together as far as building human kindness and building caring. So as we were walking out of the station the other day, there's a book on the table, and the book is Living Your Legacy, and it was written by Barbara Shaman, Greenspan Shaman. You don't use Greenspan anymore, Barbara?
No, that's my maiden name, and I love to use it because this way I get connected to people I went to high school with, and that's
Good.
exciting.
Yeah. So Wanda picks up the book and says, what is this about?" And she went through the process, and the name was very familiar to me. As I said, we had met 11 years ago, 12 years ago at a meeting. And I loved what you were talking about at the time, and I wanted you to be more well known in our area in Aventura and Sunny Isles Beach. So at that time, we were publishing Uptown Magazine, and so I had one of your articles in there, and I went back in my archives and I found the emails between us, and it was really quite an amazing thing where this whole thing came full circle, where I got to meet you again. And especially at this time in our world, caring is a very important thing, and it's the heartbeat of human kindness. It's really caring about things, caring about something. And you are a champion of caring. You have an organization that was created, a nonprofit organization through which you're trying to train people to be caring or to use their caring feelings and to expand upon them. My guest is Barbara Shaman. And Barbara, the whole concept of teach your children well, what's going on in our society? Where does this come from, what we're seeing right now that's going on? You are also connected, I know, to the Holocaust. Your parents survived the Holocaust. You survived the Holocaust. And we're dealing with some very crazy issues today. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, let me begin by thanking you. This is a great reunion. We haven't seen each other in a long time, and there's a Jewish word, beshert, which means meant to be. So it
Yes.
was meant to be that Wanda found the book, that we reconnected, and I'm thrilled to be here today. Today is Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, and I'm really happy to be speaking with you on this very solemn, important day because
Yes.
this day commemorates those who were slaughtered, and I use the word slaughtered during the Holocaust. I
Yes.
think too many people don't know history. Too many people are trying to rewrite history. They use language and they don't know exactly what it means. Expressions like from the river to the sea. These all have connotations about anti-Semitism and getting rid of the Jews. And it really kills me because my mother was the sole survivor of a family of 65 people. She was incarcerated in 3 death camps. And my father worked for Oskar Schindler, if you saw the film Schindler's List, but
Hmm.
unfortunately was not put on that list and instead was sent on the death march. And they met at the Theresienstadt concentration camp, which was outside of Prague. They
Hmm.
both had typhus. My mother weighed 65 pounds and my father weighed 80 pounds. And they met as the Russians were liberating Theresienstadt in May of 1945. So I was born after the war, but this history touches me so deeply because I really have very little family, because of the stories that I've heard growing up about what happens when people use their humanity and their dignity and their decency and can allow atrocities of this nature to happen. And I'm very frightened, Les. I don't like what I see happening on college campuses. I
Yeah,
don't.
what I don't understand fully. I mean, I have actually witnessed the videos of what happened on October the 7th. And I must tell you, it is the atrocities of things. Just it is the most barbaric, and I can't talk about it. I can't even think about it. But what's surprising to me is the number of people who have not seen that and who may think something different happened on that day. But this idea that we're not in a similar situation is very bothersome. We are, and I don't know. I know that the campus unrest is it's a very significant showing of how people can be misled or be not caring. Everybody's entitled to their opinions about things, but it's hard for me to see them supporting this kind of activity. And so, is this a university problem? Is this something that's at the universities? Is this something that's a problem in the way our children are taught?
Well,
Where does it come from?
I think it comes from lack of education. And I
Mm-hmm.
know here, I live in Philadelphia. I'm part of a task force that's pushing for the Holocaust to be taught in all schools
Mm-hmm.
because there are deniers. There are still survivors around, and there are people denying that the Holocaust happened, that it wasn't 6 million people. They're trying to change history as my parents died a little while ago while they were still alive. And now I'm sitting here listening to this, and my children and grandchildren are hearing this.
Mm-hmm.
Education is the key. They must learn this. And what happened on October 7th has to be broadcast more widely because right now people are forgetting the genesis of this problem. When
That's right.
Hamas, a terrorist group, came in, raped, murdered, violated dead women. This has to be seen. And I'm so proud that Sheryl Sandberg, from Facebook,
Yes.
who's now longer with Facebook, has done a film about this. And I encourage people to find this film. This was not started because of a few people getting upset with each other. This was mass murder. They were
Yes.
at a dance festival. And I saw
Yeah.
something last night where a woman who was there and survived said, I visualized my friends dancing in heaven. That really broke my heart. But
Yeah.
the point is, we must educate and we have to draw a line. People are allowed to have free speech, but not when the free speech talks about annihilating another group of people. Respect.
Why isn't the media showing that? Is what I don't understand. Why isn't the media? I mean, they don't have to. They show a lot of other graphic things that go on, but they've never shown the graphic nature of this. And they
Well,
have the video, and they don't. And I don't know why they're not doing that. And that's very bothersome as well.
it's very bothersome, but that's why I do the work that I'm doing. I'm creating a documentary right now to promote intergenerational social activism. A lot of people think they don't have a voice and they don't have power. But even with our conversation today, Les, we can heighten awareness about what's going on in the world. We can write letters to the editor of New York Times and different newspapers and to ABC, NBC, CNN, and ensure that our voice is heard. We live in a democracy. We have that right. But what I'm trying to do now, I started Champions of Caring in 1995 after I visited the Auschwitz concentration camp.
Hmm.
If you ever go to visit Auschwitz, you will never be the same because it's incredible the evil that could be perpetrated by human beings. That
Yes.
Porsche taught the Germans, gave them the formula for Zyklon gas. So people who thought they were walking into a shower were put to their death. The evil that came out of this period in history has to be remembered because it can happen again. I'm frightened. I'm truly
Yes.
frightened right now, but education is the key. And also putting an emphasis on kindness and caring and doing projects for social change. When I was in Auschwitz, I'd like to share a very brief story about a toothbrush. My mother used to compulsively brush her teeth. It drove us crazy because we were always late. I'm
Hmm.
standing with my mother in Auschwitz, and she says to me, I came here on the last transport out of the Lodz ghetto. I had nothing. I had lost my family, every possession. I snuck a toothbrush into my dress. They took it away from me. It was the last vestige of my humanity. Well, when I heard that, Les, I got so upset. I said, Mom, I'll be right back. I ran in the courtyard, broke down, started sobbing, feeling embarrassed that I'd never known about this toothbrush trauma and that was why she was brushing her teeth so compulsively.
Hmm.
Yard, there are these German boys clowning around and laughing. And I'm thinking to myself, how can you behave this way at a place like Auschwitz? German is my first language because I was born there. I go up to them and say to them, do you know where you are? How can you behave this way? And they laugh more. And bam, Les, my life changed. At the
Yeah.
time, I was running a national executive search firm recruiting doctors. I loved my work. But all of a sudden, I thought, I'm going to go back to America and I'm going to create something to teach people to be kind, empathetic, and caring. And the name Champions of Caring popped in my head. One of my best friend's husbands at the time was the CEO of NBC Universal. His name is Robert Wright. And he heard the story of what happened at Auschwitz. He says, NBC will come on board and be a supporter. He introduced me to Steven Spielberg, whose Righteous Persons Foundation gave me seed money. So that was the genesis of the organization. It was about a toothbrush and standing in Auschwitz. We have worked with over 10,000 kids in the city of Philadelphia who have given 1 million hours of service. We started a project in Cape Town, South Africa. Now I have this new vision of what we should be doing, and I'm shifting the mission of the organization. I've been very involved in intergenerational collaboration at Temple University here in Philadelphia. We have classes that have students that range from 18 to 95 learning together. We've created cafes where people of all ages mingle. I would like to change the mission to intergenerational collaboration to create social justice. So we're creating a documentary right now, and I'd love your viewers to see it. It's on our website, championsofcaring.org, that shows what happened to kids that I worked with when they were 14, 15, and 16, who are now 30 and 40 and live in Finland, live in New Orleans, live in Washington, D.C., all over the world and all over this country, creating social justice projects because they learned how to do it as teenagers. And now they're doing this and they're teaching these values to their children. We had a longitudinal study done by the head of the sociology department at Temple. And the data shows that this program really enriched these young people's lives. And they're now social activists, really engaged in doing good work. So I ask your listeners, join me. Come on to Champions of Caring. Look at our trailer that's on the website. Help us create a community of change makers, of people of all ages and all backgrounds. Because you know what, Les? I'm not great on technology, but I know how to make businesses happen. So when you put me and you with young kids who have all these skill
Yeah.
sets, magic starts happening.
Well, you have ambassadors, which is very interesting, that terminology. I was on your website, just these are young people who are going into the community and spreading caring.
They're creating social justice projects. So I'm going to Finland on Sunday. Why? One of our African American students from Philly, and I generally don't generalize what someone is, but he is living in Finland, which was just voted one of the most racist countries in the world, the most racist, actually, country in the world. What he and his wife are doing in Finland to create a more just, accepting society for the immigrants and the asylees that are coming to Finland. I just spent an hour and a half on the phone with him because we're going to meet with the mayor, with city council, with the school board, talking about bringing these kinds of programs to Finland. And it's a joy for me to see this spread globally, that they
Mhm.
care enough and they walk into situations that are difficult, but they want to change the world and they can and they do. So I'm thrilled about that.
Well, they're better ambassadors in a lot of ways than the actual ambassadors. I'm not taking. I want to take any political cracks, but the problem is that the efficiency and the ability of some of these people is driven by other than caring in a lot of ways. And when you can create ambassadors who care and who are willing to do the work and understand what it is. I had also was looking at the universal lessons for preventing and combating mass atrocity. So there are a lot of people that would say, well, these kids that are demonstrating represent a very small percentage of people. And that's true. They do. They represent a small percentage, but they are a high percentage of campuses. And
Mhm.
campuses are where this education is occurring, is enhancing the tone and the message which is the part that's very frightening. They're not enhancing the message of caring to anybody. We're doing that. You and I are doing that in the loneliness of our rooms here, and that you are able to reach out into other countries to be able to make a change through your program is amazing. We also want to change the economy of the way this works. And so it's one of the things that we're very, very much involved in, which is to endow and create endowment, because endowment through the charitable sector is much more effective than government aid to a country. If you can endow organizations in this country that then can work with other countries, that's one way of making world peace. So we're on the same. We're both singing from the same hymnal, but we're coming at it from a little different point of view.
Every day I try and spread the love. Every single person that I see, I say what's up, give a hug.
Champions of Caring really helped me spread my wings and recognize the impact that I'm capable of having.
I'm a ninth grader at Lower Merion High School. My project was a triathlon to benefit paralysis research. I chose this project because someone really close to me was paralyzed in a car accident, and I wanted to help out.
I started to realize that there's no starting age for service, and that I could be taken seriously at a much younger age and do a project any size that I imagined.
That is what we had the opportunity to do when we looked at our city and we said, Philadelphia could use light. And I, as a 16, 17-year-old kid, felt so empowered because through Champions, I know that I had a community that was pushing me to do this. And so to be in a room with all of these young people and we all having that same notion of change and the little things that we can do that would impact the entire world really inspired us all the time.
My guest is Barbara Shaiman. Barbara is the founder of Champions of Caring, a 501c3 organization, which is about championing caring and training young people, and also, but the intergenerational concept is what I think is very, very powerful. You're using the wisdom of all of the generations to share together. I mean, I may not be able to be as computer literate as my granddaughter, but I certainly have a lot more life experience, so we can share things together. And that's one of the things that I think is missing in our world today. We've become siloed. You know, everybody's in there siloed. The old people are here and the young people are here, and they're dividing it even further by race and religion. This is a horrible outcome of what's going on for a while. I'm hoping that because it's so bad, it'll end. That's the only thing that I'm hoping. And I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I think we need to bring disparate groups of people together. One of the things that I did with Champions of Caring in the 1990s was bring the rich white kids from the mainline area here in Philadelphia together with kids from the inner city, Hispanic kids, Black kids, and other immigrant groups, because I knew I'm an immigrant and I understood the power of bringing different groups of people together. And I'll tell you how that happened. I approached Dr. Konstantin Papadakis, the president of Drexel University, to see if they would be our partner. And when I told him I was the daughter of Holocaust survivors, he said, stop right there. My wife, Ileana's family, lived in Salonika, Greece. They hid Jews during the Holocaust. Drexel University is your partner. And Taki died quite a few years ago, but I'm so grateful to him because he offered us his university as a meeting ground. The mainline richer kids could come, the inner city could come. I could give tokens to kids who couldn't afford to get there, and they loved meeting each other. One of the outcomes of our longitudinal study was this was the only place that you could meet people who were different from yourself. And I love that, because we live in silos less, and we have to stop that. We can only learn to respect and care for each other by bringing people together that are different, showing how we have these values and care about society and how collaboratively we can learn from one another. And then adding in the intergenerational factor really makes it powerful. So I'm a huge advocate of intergenerational, bringing disparate groups of people together, teaching respect, And what comes from that is beautiful. That's how we change the world. And with this
Yep.
things that are going on college campuses, I just read an article. There's a professor of Ben Gurion University in Israel who came from Philadelphia, who has a university that has a very large percentage of Arab students and Israeli students, and they are allowed to protest, but they must meet with him first, and the guidelines are laid out. You can do this, this, and this. You can't do this, this, and this. His this is fascinating. He has had an increase of 35% of Arab students because they know this is a place where they can air what they're worried about, but they understand the parameters and what they can do and what they can't. And that's what's missing here. I think if we could sit with these college kids and have guidelines and rules and what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and have Palestinian and Israeli people talking to each other and understanding we're all human, that's the piece that I think might add something.
I think that that's inborn. I think that people will do that ordinarily, but I think that there's agitation. That's part of the problem.
We have to switch it. We have
That's
to
the
turn that around.
there's a political side of it, and that's the problem.
Yep. Yep. But you know what? I'm an optimist. I've seen too much and I've heard too much from my parents what happens when evil rises to the top. We must stand up. We must speak out. I want people listening to go to our website. We have an empowerment toolkit for you, your viewers, to look at. How do I start a project? How do I look at the goals and objectives and mission of what I want to do? Who do I include? What's the area that I want to work on? So I encourage them to see our trailer, to use these materials, to write to me, because together we can change the world. Alone it's hard, but if we come together with a plan and a vision, and from a place from the heart that we do care, and I know you do, I sense it in every conversation we've ever had. That's how we change the world.
How many ambassadors do you have, actually?
Well, we've worked with 10,000 students. They're all ambassadors of this program. In the documentary, we're featuring 7 of them that are amazing. One of the ones is Neha Gupta, who at the age of 9 was going every year to India to visit her grandparents. And when she visited an orphanage, she saw they had nothing. She came back to Philly, sold all of her toys, and went back the following year and gave them money. To date, are you ready for this, Les? She has worked with 30,000 orphans around the world. She was just honored by Desmond Tutu with the same award that Malala and Greta Thunberg got. She started this with, I want to help orphans. And this has morphed into something huge. We just filmed her a few weeks ago. She's an ER resident at George Washington University Hospital. The way these young people have taken their passion and built it into something so unique and so special, because it comes from the heart.
Well, just think about how wonderful this story is compared to the other stories that are out there. And this story is not getting told. And that's one of the reasons why we want to tell the story of people like yourself and people everybody. I don't believe children are born not caring. I think they're born, they want to give, they'll share, and then there's an influence on them. We could just keep them as in that framework. I wanted to try and help champions of caring as much as possible. So because your message is very important to get out, and I'd love to be able to work with your ambassadors. We have been training endowment engineers because that's an important part of this process. And when you do need to have support. No matter what you're talking about, it requires financial support.
Yes.
So,
and for the documentary,
I mean, those things cost money, and so you're relying on charitable contributions as a 501c3. There are some limitations on what you can do because everybody's looking to raise money as well. So our objective is to train people like ambassadors in your organization to be able to help people also work with endowment engineers, and they can become endowment engineers. Actually, that's one of the things that we think is important for them to be able to help people help your organization. They can lower their taxes and increase their income using charity, and you're a charity. So people want to help caring champions of caring. They can do that using these devices and using them very effectively and help to endow organizations. So I don't know how much of an endowment you've tried to reach, or how if you find it easy or difficult, but most nonprofit organizations have a hard time creating endowment. That's the money that they'll need to support themselves and do the work. They don't have to worry about raising money all the time. How are you funded?
Well, I'm funding a lot of this myself, frankly. This is my legacy. I wrote the book called Live Your Legacy Now. This is how I'm living my legacy. But I need help, and I would love your viewers to donate on our Champions of Caring page, a Facebook website. It's hard to raise money. There are a lot of competing elements, and a lot of not-for-profits don't do well because they're tired of how hard it is to raise money. I was very blessed when Arlen Specter was head of the Senate Appropriations Committee. They were very generous to me because he believed in the work that I was doing. But raising money is difficult, and I'd be very appreciative if any of your viewers would reach out to me and help us.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do that, and we're happy to work with you as well to help you to do what can be done easier. It's wonderful to talk with you again, Barbara. I wish that the world was in better shape from a lot of points of view. I'm hoping, I'm an optimist, and I think things will get better. And I think that there is human kindness at the end of the road. We have to keep walking the road, and the road to human kindness is paved with and directed by people like yourself. And we really appreciate your being the champion of caring and doing the work that you do.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to reconnect. And I'd love to be connected with you and your viewers because the time is now. We're in trouble. The world is hemorrhaging, but we can and must do something about it. And I believe when good people like you and Wanda do this work, we can really make impactful change, and the world needs it.
Thank you again for joining us, Barbara Shaiman, and Godspeed. Best to you. And I hope that is the book still the book is being still published, right?
Yes.
Okay, and they can get it on Amazon?
Yeah. And it's being used in MBA programs, which I didn't even realize. I got a note the other day that this is the text at Penn State for an MBA program. And I was thrilled that it's being used in different colleges and universities because our greatest hope for the better future is young people.
Yes, and getting them into situations where they have other ages around them, other generations, intergenerational wisdom, and the caring part of caring for each other at every level is very important. It's going to become more and more important because unfortunately we've been relying too much on the government side of this thing for things to work, and they don't work that way. They work by people to people, right, and communities on their own doing their work, and so we complement each other in a way that what we're doing as well as what you're doing. We'd love to work with you, Barbara.
Thank you.
And I hope we'll have another opportunity to talk again. So
be a pleasure. Thank you, Wanda, for making this connection, and it was a joy to see you again.
Hey, yes. The book found me.
The book found
That's right. The book did find you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. That's our show for today, and we'll see you next week.
I wanted young people to understand why it's critical to stand up, to speak out, to raise your voice against hatred and violence in a society. The impetus for my starting Champions of Caring was to honor my parents and the many Holocaust survivors and those who perished.
We must teach our children to love and care. They must be their brother's keepers, lest the world continues to make the same mistakes. This coral ring was something that my grandmother purchased. It was her favorite stone. It personifies my family legacy. This ring became my mother's engagement ring. And she always told me that she loved the color and that the shine of it gave her a feeling about a new life. So my mother, for my 50th birthday, put this ring on my finger. And she said to me, every time you look at this ring,
I want you to think about your responsibility to make the world a better place.